guys, look who's back. Look who took some time off from this channel. It is me, Andrea Lewis. Okay, so I have no excuse for my bad behavior besides just life. And life is crazy and creating content is crazy. And I've been really busy and just a lot's been going on. Here I am back trying at least. Anyway, happy September. I don't know if you guys know this, but it's PCOS Awareness Month. And I have talked a little bit about having PCOS, my own PCOS journey, and the struggles that I have dealt with. I say struggles because I have not yet hit the positive curve of PCOS, as in like, I feel like, oh my gosh, I'm in control of my body and I know what's going on and I don't feel tired and I don't feel sick sometimes and I don't feel this and I don't feel that. No. I'm just hanging on by the seat of my pants, y'all. That's really the truth of the matter. But nonetheless, I recently did an interview on one of my favorite podcasts, A Sister and Her Mister, for Talene and Sirach. They have just a great brand. Their Instagram page is like super duper poppin'. But anyway, I follow their advice. I believe in the things that she and her husband say and give on a regular basis. So I was really excited when they asked me to be a part of their podcast and to talk about my own journey with PCOS and how I felt. I do feel better from the stuff that they have said. I will say that. I won't be like it's all bad with PCOS, but it is an up and down journey, like legitimately. Anyway, I wanted to share my interview that I did with them on this channel. So keep watching if you would like to see my interview with A Sister and Her Mister, talking all about my PCOS journey. And if you happen to have PCOS, please let me know in the comments below. Very random thing that I'm adding is somebody recently said to me that they don't see very many women of color speaking about PCOS, and I wanted to know, do you guys feel that way too if you happen to have it? Because it's something that kind of like let a light bulb switch go off for me, because I was like, wait, yeah, I guess maybe you're right. I think I talk about it, but maybe there aren't very many women of color that talk about it. Either way, let me know.
Welcome, sisters, to a new episode of A Sister and Her Mister. Me, Talene, and we got another fellow sister here, Andrea Lewis. She is an actress and filmmaker. Maybe most of you know her from Degrassi, but she is a prominent filmmaker, actress. Currently, she had a press release for her documentary film called Social Beauty, which will be coming out in the fall. Thank you, Andrea, for joining us.
Thank you, guys. I'm a big fan.
We're so excited to have you. And it's really just amazing to see, any woman can have PCOS. And sometimes sisters get shocked when they hear that their favorite celebrity even has PCOS. It makes us feel a little less alone in the journey. So thank you so much for opening up and sharing your journey with everyone.
Mm-hmm. No problem. I mean, I'm very transparent about it because I think it's like the symptoms for it can feel very isolating. So I've always kind of just made it a thing that I'm cool to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, we were just saying before we started recording how like anytime you bring up PCOS, all the women in the room like turn around and like at least 1 in 5 or 10 of them say, yeah, I have it too. I have irregular periods, this and that. It's like so normal,
Yeah, it's almost shocking and can sometimes be sad because they don't really know what this thing is necessarily. And when you like describe it or if you talk about it, they're like, oh, that's me too. And you can tell that they genuinely feel like no one else has this thing. And so that's always why I try to talk about it. Because I'm like, others need to know. There are others for you. Like you can be like, join the club. You can find your tribe.
Totally. Yeah. You're not alone in this. And like all of these symptoms that people struggle with, there are ways to resolve them instead of just like pushing them down and ignoring them and just like silently suffering for years,
Oh, yeah. So for you, how did you, how long ago was it when you discovered you had PCOS, and what like kind of triggered you to like look into it and like find out what's going on?
Well, okay. So my journey, I guess, with the discovery of it was a kind of long. My earliest memory is maybe when I was like 20, 21. I remember not getting my period for the year. but I wasn't sexually active at that time. So I was like, whatever. Like, I didn't think anything. Like, you're not, because in your head, when you miss a period, it's like, oh, I'm pregnant. And because I was like not doing that, I was like, not pregnant, so I'm fine. Didn't tell anybody really, didn't even bring it up. And then maybe 5 or 6 years later, it wasn't until I was in a relationship and I was living in New York, and I wasn't really getting my period, and I was just kind of uncomfortable, like just genuinely uncomfortable. And I remember my boyfriend at the time was kind of like, well, maybe tell your doctor. And I went and told my doctor, and he was just kind of like, well, the next time you get your period, take this birth control. And I just like didn't get my period. So I was like, well, how's this supposed to work? Because I'm not getting my period and ready to take this birth control. And so from there is where I started to look into what was happening. And it was just really looking online. And that like has a gift and a curse to it, because it can feel very scary to look online,
Totally.
right away. And so my doctor eventually, like maybe 3 or 4 months later, I kind of went back to him and was like, I didn't get my period. So what should I do? And he sent me to a couple of like specialists, I guess you could say. And they just were like, yeah, you have PCOS, and you probably will have a hard time having a kid, and you should probably lose weight. And that was really it. And I went to 2 different doctors, and that was basically their advice, both of them. And so from there, I felt like my experience has been kind of extreme. Sometimes I have times when I feel like I'm in control and I'm finding a method. And then I have other times when I feel like I've like just gone down a slide and like took a wrong turn, where I'm like, I don't know what has happened to me, but I've like completely lost track of myself. And so it's been a lot of ups and downs. I've also struggled very much with like the anxiety and the depression part of it, and just trying to navigate the space as much as possible. Because I think when you tell people what PCOS is, like especially the symptoms, I find people think it's fake, or they just don't.
Yeah.
I know. How do you explain inflammation? Like, hey, I'm really uncomfortable in my body and I feel like I'm exploding out of my skin.
Yeah, I honestly find that they just don't get it. So I also get, unfortunately, why some of the doctors, or why people are just like, oh, lose weight, because that's what it sounds like. It just sounds like I'm uncomfortable with myself, and so can you help me? And they're just like, oh, stop eating that candy. And you're like, this is not.
I'm eating
not
salad.
what it is. It's not. It's more than that. Like there's something bigger and
Exactly.
and yeah, it's hard to describe. I've also had like a lot of gut issues too with it, and I find the gut issues that I think help, or I think they're coming about because of stress. But when I've gone to doctors even for that, it's like as if I have like a mystery diagnosis. It's like you're kind of like, something is wrong, and they're like, well, maybe stop eating garlic, or maybe stop eating onions, and it's not like connecting, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. They're not like, they don't connect the dots that like a lot of times a weight gain could be a result of some other issues happening with the PCOS. And instead of looking at the root issue, they're just saying lose weight by going on a restrictive diet or something. And then you're making the actual root cause of it worse. So
Have you looked into underlying issues? Like, have you figured out if you're insulin resistant, or maybe your adrenals are off?
Well, yeah, I think I'm insulin resistant. I like did the quiz that you had on your site, and that was what kind of like made me think, oh, maybe it's more with the insulin resistance. But I have had moments of extreme fatigue, and so I don't know if there's ever like a molding together of some of the symptoms, but I feel like sometimes I've had bits of this and that. And
You can have a mixture.
yeah,
for sure.
I think the other thing too that I hate about PCOS, that it's like you can't have any sweets, but you're constantly craving sweets. I'm always craving. Like I could have a donut every single day.
Girl, you have to get on that Ovasitol.
Yeah, that's the thing, is it's like the Ovasitol has helped me tremendously, but I can also say I'm like, it's this weird, it's like, I think you want comfort food more than anything. That's what I think your body is asking for, versus like that it's just sweets. But I think your stress is like singing like, ding, 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 you need something to make you feel better. And unfortunately, the things that are going to make you feel better, like, don't. That's how I've treated it.
Totally. I understand that feeling. What are some of the things that you've done that have helped? Because I know it's hard to like keep a lifestyle change going. It took me like a year to get used to everything. I know like you maybe are just starting to like start this healing journey. So,
Yeah, I'm starting. Okay, so like I said, I've had pockets in the last few years where I felt like, oh, I have something here, I have something, and then, but it wouldn't like last. So I'd say that within this year, which is the strangest year ever, but this is the year that I've started to kind of find lifestyle changes. So I've been doing the gluten-free.
nice.
But that is where it's like, I always tell this to people, I'm like, that is like an experimentation journey. Like you have to, it's not just this easy peasy, like I'm going to go gluten free. It's kind of like
time.
You have to find the things that work. Because it's like, I was trying some of the gluten-free pastas at Trader Joe's and I just didn't like any. And so I was feeling really sad because I was like, oh, I can't eat pasta. Like, this sucks. But I really liked their bread. But then I've been like in this constant search for the right pancake mix. And it's like you have to kind of do those things basically in order to kind of make your lifestyle and your life feel more normal. It's not like you're going crazy and you're just eating all of that stuff all of the time, but you're just being aware that you're like, if say I do want to have a sandwich or if I do want to have pasta or something, I just have to find the one that works for me. And so this has been the year that I've been doing more of that experimentation instead of just going cold turkey and
yes. Yeah.
Because you'll feel bad. So I can say this, in the last little while, I feel like I have a terrible relationship with food because I'll feel bad eating like things that, like instead of being able to just enjoy something, everything is this stress and this worry of like,
what am I
going
to
eat? That's going to make me feel upset, or that I'm not going to feel great having that, but I'm here with my friends. How do I socialize? It's this like thing. And luckily living in LA, you have more options and it's not as strange of a lifestyle to say that you're doing. But I mean, you still have people like, it's like tomorrow is my birthday and I ordered a gluten-free cake and I'm like prepared for somebody to be like, gluten-free? Like what? Why would, and I'm going to be like, no, but it's going to be good. I swear, I promise. It's gonna
yeah, they won't even know the difference.
It will be. Happy early birthday to you.
Happy birthday. How exciting.
But that's what I mean. Like, I'm like going out of my way to do things that I'm like, I know they're going to help me, but I also recognize that people are not used to making these kind of adjustments.
Yeah, there's a lot of things going on once you change your diet. Like you said, like you're trying to find brands you like, the people around you accepting it or not accepting it. Like all of these factors affect how consistent you are, and it takes like a whole year or so to really get in the groove of it and find the brands you like, and everyone to just get used to you have a different diet.
It kind of makes it more fun. Like, everything is like, okay, like you have to try to find different stuff. It's not going to be the same old bread every single time.
Yeah.
And then, I don't know, I like the drama of explaining to people what's up, like it just like changes up my day a little bit, educates some people.
Yeah, I don't mind the experimenting now, but I could say in the years prior, I felt more like a burden. And so that's why I'm like, it does take you a while to adapt and to start to
especially when you're exhausted from trying all these new other things before you've started gluten and dairy free. I'm sure you did a bunch of other things. And then like by the time you reach the point where you're gluten and dairy free, you're just over it, Yeah,
you're just like, I don't want to do this. I just don't want to be this person. And I honestly, I miss the days when I would just eat pizza. I was like, where did that girl go? But I realized it's like, it's not a bad thing. And it is just kind of this slow adjustment. What I'm still adjusting to as well is understanding the workouts, or like the workouts, whatever they could possibly be for PCOS. Because when I first started, everybody encouraged you to do weight training. That was like the big thing. And there's like, I think her name's Jillian Michaels, the person.
She has PCOS, yeah.
Yeah, like she has PCOS. And so people will be like, well, she has PCOS and look at her, she's ripped. And you're like, I don't know if that's my lifestyle. But nonetheless, it's like, that's what people will kind of encourage. Maybe do weights, maybe this, maybe that. And I love to run. So running was more the thing that I was really enjoying. But in the last year, when I was doing my running, I would like blow up.
Mm.
It was like going
Yes.
absolutely
Yeah.
nowhere. And so I had to stop running because I was like, I actually am feeling worse. Like this is not happening the way I think it should be happening. And so now it's been kind of finding a balance of working out, like what you guys have been encouraging with the slow workouts. But I do think the idea around taking your time working out is something you have to adjust to, because
Yeah.
you're so used to
Facts.
fast going really hard, or and I think that's a lot of the stuff with PCOS that has been my journey, is your mental state, like not feeling bad for food, or not feeling bad for just wanting to sit down, or not having the energy, and then also not feeling bad for working out slowly. Like
Yeah, that's a thing too. You're like at the gym and the weight section going slowly, and everyone's like pumping iron and running on the treadmill. You're like, I'm good.
yeah, you're like, I think I'm good now. I think I'm okay. And so all of that though, especially when you're just talking to somebody who's normal, essentially, right? Like they don't have any of these hormonal issues or insulin issues. To kind of explain some of yours just sounds crazy.
They like don't even believe you when you're talking.
They
But you have to
don't get
keep
it.
in mind, like everyone has something. Maybe they don't have PCOS. Maybe they're not sharing whatever their issue is. And you're the only one sharing about your PCOS. So you feel isolated in that moment. Like you have to like think of the big picture. Like you're not the only one going through something, even though in that moment it totally seems like it, because the other person's like, what the heck? Gluten free?
But
Like,
it's like you would never respond to that person that way, so you expect them to at least understand,
that's
right?
true.
But it's like with PCOS, it's not always there.
No, with PCOS, it is very much like this thing that people don't understand. They've never heard of it, and it affects so many women. So it's so shocking that people are so unaware
Yeah.
as to what it is. But I have seen just such strange responses to it, especially when you are trying. Like if you really are trying to lose weight and you really are trying to just keep your anxiety at check or your depression at check, and people are like, I don't get it. Like why isn't anything happening? I like look at people completely different now. You know, like if somebody's super skinny, they think they're sick. Now I'm like, no, if they're like overweight, I'm like, there might be something happening. You don't know. Like just like assume that they're just, I don't know,
They
sitting
could have
around eating all day.
PCOS.
Like they could
Totally.
be trying. Because I know for me that's been just I think being comfortable in my body has been my biggest challenge. The whole time is just being okay and not letting it affect like my relationships, my friends, my family, just anybody who's in my life. Because if you're uncomfortable, naturally, you're not really comfortable around others. And I've had those moments where I've been very like, oh, I don't really want to see anybody, or I just don't know what to wear, or I don't know how to be right now.
Yeah.
And
not
I even
feeling
have
it.
friends where I've been fortunate. I haven't had many issues with my hair, but I have a few friends that have had real issues with their hair. Yeah. And that has really just affected their confidence. And I think the thing with PCOS that I've seen that's kind of the commonality, it really affects the confidence of the women. Mm-hmm. Like, it doesn't matter what level they have it at, whether they are just remaining really petite or if they don't, but you're just overall, you don't feel right at all.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that is true. It's like the hair loss and sometimes the hair growth. It's just like
So
puts your confidence
traumatizing.
down, and then you don't get help from the doctor because it's just like some doctor, if it's a guy especially, they it's very like tone deaf and
Yeah.
they don't understand what you're going through. But like the tough part is like when it comes to those situations, you want to fix it right away because it's like so there. But like unfortunately, it's like time. It's like time based. Like it's gonna take
It's like 6 to 12 months of actual consistency to even see like the hairs grow back and stuff like that. And meanwhile, you're like upset, depressed over the whole situation. It's so hard to like get on the wagon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's the challenges. It's like, you're in it. So you have to also be motivated to want to, it's like depression. Like one of those things with depression is like you have to actually get up and go outside, but you're depressed. So you're like, yeah, I can't get up. So I think the same with PCOS. It's like you're physically not comfortable, but you also have to be like, well, you just have to dedicate this time to fixing it. I thought what you said recently about like looking at the scale was this real thing. And it was shocking to see the poll of like how many people really do look at the scale like every single day. But there's kind of like an addiction to like negative, right? Like you
Yeah.
could easily know that you're not feeling right and just keep looking at it all of the time. Whenever I have a trainer, they always recommend like, don't look at yourself the whole time you're training. Like don't look at your body basically, like when you're changing, if you could just change without looking in the mirror, because you won't notice the changes if you keep looking at your body every single day. You're just going to be like really hard on yourself, versus if you kind of take a few weeks off and then look at yourself, you're going to notice. And I think the same, whenever I feel really good and then I look on the scale, I'm always disappointed. And I'll always be like, oh, okay, so maybe I don't feel as good as I think. And it will change my entire mood. And I realize I'm like, I shouldn't look on the scale. I should just go more based on like a successful day is just feeling good in my body.
Totally. That's exact. I don't even weigh myself at this point, and I'm PCOS weight loss over here, but like I literally don't weigh myself, because what is the point? Like if I feel okay, that's all that matters. If I feel bloated, if I feel like I'm retaining water or I gained 5-10 pounds, like I'll feel it. Like I don't need the scale to tell me, and I'll do something about it because I don't feel good. I want to feel good, you know? I don't need a scale to like look back at me and judge me. You know what I mean? Yeah. Totally. And yeah, so for anyone listening, we did a sticker poll. What's it called? A quiz poll on Instagram story. And we asked like, you know, how many of you weigh yourself every day, once a week, and so on. And like as many people who said once a week, which was like 2,000 people said every day.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh no.
Yeah, because it's not like a straight shot down or even thing. Like it's like a little graph, and it gradually goes down. It's not like if you check it every day, you're gonna see go up, down, up, down. You're gonna be like, what's going on? But if you look at it like over a month, 2-month period, then you can see it's gradually going down if you're doing the right things.
The scale isn't gonna help you lose weight. The kitchen is. You know what I mean? Like it has nothing to do with like whether the number is going up or down every single day. It's like what you're doing every single day.
There's also so much more to it too. So like if you're doing like a little bit of weighted training, you're going to get more muscle, lose some of the fat, but muscle weighs more than fat. So it looks like you gained a pound or two, but you actually didn't, because you lost that fat and you're getting leaner.
Not just that, but around your period, you gain around like 5, sometimes 10 pounds of water weight. I've seen 5, mainly like 5 pounds with patients. And it's so depressing because like they'll lose 1 or 2 pounds finally for like the first time ever. And then their period will come and they gain 5 pounds. And I'm like, girl, it's fine. Like it's just your period. Like forget the scale. Yeah.
I didn't know that at all. That makes more sense. That makes sense.
Doesn't that make you feel better? It's like totally normal. That and working out. So all of these are like affecting the scale. So what's the point of weighing yourself?
Yeah.
You know?
Too many side effects,
Yeah.
Plus it will make you sad. And then you'll feel like you haven't done anything. And then it's like, why? You have done lots of stuff. So like.
Yeah.
What are some of the ways that you've kind of pushed yourself through these difficult moments? Do you have advice for sisters who are listening?
Well, you know, whenever I've heard or read a story of somebody reversing their symptoms, that always helps, because I'll always think, oh, like this doesn't have to be this like endless thing. Because I think, especially when you first are diagnosed, it does feel really daunting, and it just feels like a doomsday. It's just like, that's that. Sorry, you're just like gonna be fat, won't be able to have kids, and like, bye.
What
and
the
like,
hell? Yeah. Oh my
so
God.
I think like seeing people who kind of have managed it and felt better about themselves will make me be like, okay, I just have to try more. Then honestly, I really will think like, have I actually put the effort in? Like, am I really trying, or am I just kind of more so complaining and moping, versus saying, okay, I really did at least a year of gluten and dairy free. I really did like this serious cutback on sugars and things like that. Like, am I actively doing that? Even I had saw something you had said about fruits, and I was eating more fruit before, and now I haven't been. And it's just like, I still take some in, but just not as much, because I'm a little bit more conscious. I'm trying to kind of understand the amount of sugar I have in the day, basically. Just take note of it. Because I think you can think that you're doing all this really great work, and then you take a look at your day and you're like, oh wait, I had soda, and then I had some fruit, and then later on I had coffee and I put some sugar in it. And it's like, all of these things
Yeah.
that are affecting you, and but you're thinking you're living a really normal life. You're like, what?
Yeah,
Because what, my friend's doing it, why can't I do it?
Yes.
And you're like, well, your life is just not like theirs. So
everyone around you is doing it, and then it makes you feel like, I should be doing it too. But yeah, you're right. Like, we're not like other people. So what? We are like 1 in 10 women who have PCOS, and that's a lot of people. So technically we're not like, weird. You know what I mean? 1 in 10 is like a lot of people in the world.
I mean, they say 1 in 5 in the US.
Oh, in UK it's 1 in 5. In US it's 1 in 10 is what I've read.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah, but still maybe. And then I read like it might be 1 in 5, but it's like not confirmed.
Because it's so underdiagnosed
It's
as well.
so underdiagnosed. It's probably 1 in 5. So we're not that strange.
No,
yeah,
not at all.
no, completely. And I do think what you guys said, it is underdiagnosed, because I always think that there's not enough understanding around period health. And that, like, I just think periods are taught to you, like, when you're a little girl, at least in school. It's just like, you're going to get this thing and now you can get pregnant, and and you're going to be like in pain. And so when you become an adult and it's like, there's PCOS, there's fibroids, there's like all these other things that can happen. You really don't know where to go or how this could have happened to you. So it's true. I do meet people that I know have some form of PCOS or some kind of irregular period, and they're not going to a doctor at all. They're not thinking anything of it. They're not trying to fix this thing. And so I think it's like, there needs to be a new education system overall for women, and just what our bodies can do.
People don't even know that you can fix it, that like you can get irregular periods again naturally without medication, with some supplements. Ovasitol is crazy. Like, it's gotten so many women to have regular periods along with changing their diet. And like, no one even knew about it until we started screaming about it from the rooftops. We're like, everyone take this.
Yeah.
Like, what the hell are we doing?
And it is easy. And the thing is, it's like, I started taking Ovasitol now on month 4 of taking it. And it's like, once you kind of just adapt it into your lifestyle, it is very easy to just, and you have to just be looking at it as like, I'm taking care of myself. I'm like, even, I decided to do, this was like my experiment. I just wanted to see, because I think you guys had a guest that was talking about gluten and dairy free, that for her, dairy is still okay. And that's the thing. I do see some, I guess, other pieces of advice. Some people do say dairy is okay. Other people don't. It's like this very back and forth. I've even seen people say no eggs, no chicken, like none. And I'm like, really? And so it's like, you really do have to do an element of your own experimenting. I think, though, across the board, what I do see is like no gluten.
Oh, yeah. And dairy, I see that across the board too.
Yeah, dairy I've definitely seen affect a lot of people in different ways, with like skin and just like the variety of it. But only recently did I even start to do true experimentation on like finding dairy-free cheeses that I like, only now.
Yeah.
But it's like, that takes a while, I think, to even want to adjust to that, because cheese is on everything, and people love cheese, or they love dairy in general. But I think that there's so many coconut or almond alternatives to stuff that you don't have to do dairy so much. But the gluten one, I think I've seen the biggest, I guess, just help in my actual lifestyle, because I used to feel really tired after I would eat, like extreme tired, and now I don't feel that way after I have a meal. And so I just feel like I think it's just my overall adjustment on gluten-free in general. So I'm very much like, just go gluten-free if you, more than anything, or start there and then work your way up. Like, if doing both at the same time, whenever I've had conversations, I'm like, scares people, because it does. Then I'm like, well, try one and then see if you can then add the other, because you've like achieved the one more than anything. Or in the past, I've done detoxes that kind of will help you kickstart that. Like, it takes out everything essentially. Even though it's kind of like short, it's not a realistic lifestyle, but it will at least help you to kind of get used to seeing the effects of things on your body.
Yeah.
Like a kickstart.
Yeah, that's how I see them. Because I'm like, I think what happens to people is you get so used to what's happening when you eat certain things or when you drink certain things, that you're not thinking anything. It's only when you take it away that you start to realize, oh, wait, that actually was making me feel really sleepy or making me feel really anxious. But if they never take it away, then they just won't get to see it. So you're like, you gotta, something has that. You gotta like do a weekend off or something before you can make it.
Yeah. I mean, so many times we get used to that same feeling of like feeling bloated, or like, you know, you eat a lot of gluten, then you feel like tired, which like even the coffee, right? Like you're craving coffee, but like naturally a human body shouldn't require coffee to get through the day. It's most likely because you're not getting enough sleep, or like you're having adrenal fatigue issues.
Yeah.
Just like, so everything we take these days are like supplements, and they shouldn't be like they shouldn't be considered part of your daily regimen unless like it's something you enjoy, you know, if it's helping you.
Yeah, totally.
No, I completely, and sleep. I'm like really strict on sleep. I'm like, I always people, I'm like, you have to have sleep. Like if you're really not, the least I get is 7 hours, but I'm like, I'm so strict on like 7 to 8 hours.
That's
We're
really
the
good.
same way, I feel
You have
like.
to be, yeah. Like if you listen to this Dr. Matthew Walker, he'll like scare the crap out of you, because he just talks about like if you don't get enough sleep, at least 7 hours, like all these side effects over 30 years, like with mental health and all this crazy stuff. And I was like, oh, wait, you know what? We're stopping any
But I see
sleep days.
it. That's the thing. I've seen it. I honestly see people that I'm like, that struggle with sleep. And there was once a time when my sleep schedule was way off and crazy. And I was a mess. Like, I think I was productive. I was not productive at all. I was just like a mess of a person. And so after that time, I had to like, I felt like a baby. I had to like retrain myself. And now I'm like so strict that it doesn't matter what time I go to bed. I always tell people this. I'm like, I'm getting 7 hours. So
Good.
Don't wake me up.
Yeah.
We're the same way ever since Tira quit his other job.
Yeah.
I'm like, we're sleeping 8 hours.
And I feel
Don't
so much
wake me
better.
up early to work early. Like we'll work a little later. I'm sleeping 8 hours.
Yeah.
but you really see the difference on it. Like it is health, right? Like if you take your sleep seriously, you're going to see the difference. And I definitely, especially for women with PCOS, I'm like, you have to sleep. Like that is a big part of it, because our bodies are so fragile. And so it's kind of like, you have to listen to it. Like if you're feeling sleepy, go to sleep. Don't just be up and trying to push through. But
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes melatonin helps and so on.
Yeah. Yeah. One of the topics I wanted to ask was like, if you don't mind me asking, like in your like dating life, how has it been like explaining PCOS, or like has
That's
it
a good question.
has it come up, or like when you're on a date, like on a restaurant, does anything come up?
no, whenever I always eventually talk about it. It's always like something I eventually talk about or bring up, because I do think it affects me a lot, and the ups and downs of it. Like I said, I've had a lot of moments where I was super uncomfortable in my body, and so naturally it's going to affect your dating life, because you have to say something. I've never dated a guy though that actually knew what I was talking about. Like it's always something new for them to hear about. And then they then have the same journey, I think, as the women. At first, they're like, oh, wow, okay, what? This sounds awful. Like, this just sounds like a nightmare. And then they adjust with you, which is great. Like, at least my experience, like, if they are a good partner, I think that's like, it's for like all the people that are like dating right now. It's like, that's how you can tell they're a good partner. If they'll adjust with you, like if they'll take your PCOS seriously. So they understand that you need certain things, or you don't, or you can't have them, or you can. And they'll also take seriously your mental health symptoms, because that's a big part of PCOS for me that I think people don't always link. Is it's like there's a mood thing with you. Like you're definitely going to have an element of sadness or anxiety. And it could just be because you feel out of control of your life and you feel out of control of your body. And so I think dating will be such a challenge if you don't explain to someone that this is like a thing, that this is just what you're dealing with. And
Right.
Yeah, it's also like a great way to see how the person is like going to be towards you.
Yeah.
You know, like if they can understand PCOS and learn with you, then that's a good sign that they're going to do a lot of things with you, like learn and adjust along the way.
Yeah, and patience, because at the same time, it's like, if you have a partner, like if you say you're complaining about your weight gain or your body, and if they're just like, well, lose weight, and that's all they say, then you're like, oh, this ain't the one for me. They don't get it. They don't
want to get it.
Like,
this
it's a red
is not
flag.
going to work out for us, because it's way different. It's not like this. And so, I try my best to, like I said, I definitely make it something that I openly feel comfortable to talk about, because I think I feel like the symptoms where like I said, I've had fatigue where I'd all of a sudden like need to take a nap in the middle of the day and like just like shut down completely.
Yeah.
I've had where I felt like my body was just my enemy. And I've also had times where I felt super depressed. And so I always just think whoever's around me has to understand that this is something that I deal with, because, and that I'm navigating. Not
Navigating,
like, oh, this
right.
is just like a death sentence, but that I'm trying my best to figure it out. But it is like,
Yeah. And a supportive partner would help you navigate. Not like you wouldn't sit there and complain and he wouldn't sit there and judge.
And
You would
ignore.
try to navigate and he would try to assist. And then like eventually you'll figure it out if you continue navigating and assisting. That's the concept. You
yeah,
know?
exactly. And honestly, I'll say this, it's like my mom always thinks that maybe because I'm in entertainment, she's like, the adjustments that you have to make, she's like, that's a blessing. You can't eat gluten and dairy. She's like, that's a good thing. You should go on long walks every single day. These are positives. Like,
Yeah.
I'm like, I guess.
It's really, once you come out on the other side and you're used to the lifestyle changes, you're like, I feel so good. This is a blessing to even have had PCOS. Look at all of these great lifestyle and diet changes I've made that other people can't get themselves to do because they don't have a sense of urgency like I do. And now I have this really healthy life and I'm avoiding a lot of long-term illnesses. You know what I mean? Like that other people might get eventually because they weren't as diligent as you have to be with PCOS.
Yeah.
Yeah, it forces you to take a look at your life and take a look at and take your body very serious in a way that that I don't think I was paying attention to truthfully, and that I haven't seen my friends have to pay attention to. And so I think that those are like the silver lining, like that you can look at like negatives as a positive when it comes to the diagnosis of it, that it's like it's going to force you to do these adjustments that are a good thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's a good perspective.
I mean, speaking of your industry too, like, did you feel like you saw a lot of like more negativity, like because of like the diet culture and stuff like that, that made you think otherwise?
Well, you know, it's like, it's popular to do diets, obviously, as an entertainer, like entertainment overall, people are constantly wanting to do something like that. But I think what made me feel insecure was that you feel really out of control with your weight gain. And this is a business where people are like losing weight whenever they feel like it. Like,
Right, yeah.
you know, it's like you go to a party and just get caught up talking about losing weight. Like, you know, and so to be kind of in a place where you don't necessarily feel in control of that part of yourself can feel a little daunting. I'm trying my best. Like this year has been more so the year where I'm like, just to feel grateful for my body versus sad about it or negative about it, because I think that also affects how it functions, truthfully.
Yeah, it affects
the way you
everything.
talk about it, talk to it. And so I think that you can have a lot of times, because I tell actors this all the time, that I'm like, you can't get into acting hoping that it will give you confidence. You actually have to have confidence already, because you get rejected so often that if you think you're going to go to an audition and now they're going to like boost your spirits, it's like you just are in the wrong business. So I'm like, it's kind of the same I have found in terms of auditioning in general, when you're kind of going through an uncomfortable body stage, is you unfortunately have to kind of like fake it as much as possible. Because if you try and go in and think that you're, you know, okay, I'm just kind of handling this as much as I could, or I'm covering up, you look uncomfortable. You don't look like somebody who's like happy with themselves. And so that's why I'm like, this year has been my year of just being like, let's just be grateful for our body. Let's not put so much pressure onto it to be this thing, when I'm never really giving it a chance to just be what it wants to be. Just like let my body live in the world and take care of it as much as possible, and not worry so much that I'm not a size 0 and it's not this and it's not that, but rather, like you said, where it's like, you're not even looking at the scale. It's like, you just want to be in a place where you're like, I'm just living every single day and I'm glad to be here.
Yeah.
You would be surprised how much easier it is to lose weight with that mindset rather than obsessing over the scale and, oh, I'm not size 0 and so on.
I mean, I think it shows because, like, honestly, storytelling, you look great. You're like glowing. You look beautiful. Like, honestly, I think it's true. That you don't have to
Yeah.
you don't have to put that pressure on yourself. You know?
He turns to me. He's like, sorry, Taline.
One of my friends did a video, and I swear I should ask her. I have no idea if she has PCOS or not, but she did a video, and her whole video was like how I lost weight from having a positive mindset. And the video was just like, I just stopped overthinking. And then I said, wait. And I was like, that's the truth though. Like the more pressure you put on your body. And as I said, I've had like gut issues. And even that, one of the doctors that I've spoken with, he was kind of like, I'm sure you're very stressed out when you are thinking about food. And I was like, I am. And he's like, and that in itself is playing a role in how your gut is reacting.
Yeah.
And
And like the
I was
permeability.
yeah, it's like you have to, as crazy as that sounds, it's like as much as you can have the most relaxed lifestyle ultimately with PCOS, because stress affects us greater than somebody else. And stress affects every person very badly, mind you. So to have the kind of body where it's really like shooting up, then you have to just be like, okay, I have to find ways to be happy. I have to find ways to be grateful. I have to find ways to be comfortable. And so that means like being as relaxed as I possibly can.
Amen.
Like,
Yes.
Sister.
Yeah.
Totally.
I'm here. I'm like showing all my nightly rituals. I'm like, let's relax. It's
Yeah.
after 7:00. No one bother
Just a
me.
reminder.
True. I'm like, I light an incense in the morning. I light one in the night.
Yes.
I'm like, I write down, I have like a gratitude journal. Like I'm constantly finding ways to just be like, you just have to be calm, right?
You just have to be calm. That cortisol, that belly fat that comes from high cortisol, it's not worth the stress.
Exactly.
Taline had me doing the gratitude journal for like 3 days. I think that's how long it lasted. I don't know. It was like right before going to bed, I'm gonna write like a whole 2 pages. I'm like, no. After 3 days, I couldn't do it.
That's the thing. I have it in my phone and I try to make it just easy. Like I just try to make my gratitude like notes rather, like just, it could be just one thing. And it could be at any time of the day. I try my best though to make it the first thing I do, because you know you naturally will look at your phone when you first wake up, or it's even a really bad habit. For me, I try that if I'm going to, then the first thing I have to do is actually write something that I'm grateful for, versus kind of like getting to emails or getting to texts or whatever you'd be looking at. And it's helped me. I can say that it's helped me to, especially when I'm like pissed off, I have to write something I'm grateful for, and it like calms me down right away. So
Good. That's
I know,
great.
doesn't it just change your mind so instantly?
Yeah.
It's a great action step for the audience.
Slows your
Sisters,
mind down. Yeah.
when you get off this podcast,
Do a gratitude journal.
do a gratitude journal, make it a habit. The simplest way of losing weight with PCOS. Calm down and do a gratitude journal.
Yeah.
Well, it was so lovely chatting with you and interviewing you today. We're so grateful that you came on our podcast.
Yeah, it was honestly an honor to have you here and like talk to you one-on-one, let the sisters know like your journey. We really appreciate you sharing that with everybody, and just to let everybody know that like, you know, PCOS can affect everyone, and just
Yeah.
yeah,
We're not alone in
thank
this.
You guys, as I said, I think you guys are killing it. I think your information is great. I think the consistency is great. So please keep doing it. Just keep
Yes.
okay.
We're
Thank
here
you.
for motivation.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you so
guys.
much.
Anyway, hope you guys are well. I swear to God, I am trying my best to put more videos back up on this channel. But thank you for your patience and thank you for rocking with me.